Hello and welcome back to Logic Language Learning. Now this video is part of our series on pronouns, indirect, direct, reflexive pronouns. So I'm actually probably going to be uploading this sooner than other videos to do with this topic, and this is just because I have a lot of students here in London who are interested in this and really going over the work that we've done together. So if you haven't already had a look at the video on the reflexive, and you haven't already had a look at the video on direct, indirect pronouns, I really strongly recommend that you have a look at that first. Otherwise you're very welcome to join us. So this is basically working on two principles. The principle that if you do something to yourself in French, you are going to need to put the self word before the main verb. This is what we talked about with the pronoun, okay? So if you say, for example, to recap, I wash myself, you're going to say I myself wash. Je me lave. Yeah, je me lave, okay? If you said he washes himself, you've got il se lave. And obviously when we have words which start with the open mouth, the vowel, we're going to have the M apostrophe and the T apostrophe and the S apostrophe. So for example, he obliges himself, il s'oblige, or tu t'obliges. This kind of thing is going to happen all the time. Now, if you think as well, going back to our past laws, that when we were in the past and when it was an action past, i.e. I went, I spoke, I drove, I baked, I understood. How many words have we said up until this point we need? Regardless in English of whether we are saying I have done something or I did something. How many words are we saying in our simple action past in French? Three, or three groups rather. So person doing it, have or be verb in the middle, and the past word at the end. For example, he said, il a dit. Now, what we're saying in this is, it's still an action past, but the number of groups is going to change. So if I told you he washes, normally, and this doesn't make any sense in French because you need to say who he's washing or what he's washing, he washes, well let's say he says, il dit, yeah? Il dit, two words, yeah? How many words if I said he says to himself? Il se dit, so two becomes three. So go back to how many words we had when we said action past, three, okay? So how many is it going to be if we're adding something for he, let's say he said to himself, four, okay? So the basic structure to this is we're going to need four. Now, cast your mind back. When we were talking about verbs and we said we have our action, we said we have in the middle for most of them, and there are those verbs that you should now be pretty comfortable with, which are the movement verbs, and they are verbs which are not reflexive. You're not doing something to yourself. The verb automatically tells me that you are the subject of the verb and also the object, that you are the person who is having that happen. Okay, so we do not need to use I went myself or I left myself, or any of this business, okay? So this has got nothing to do with those movement verbs that you've learned. Je suis parti, il est parti, nous sommes descendus, nous sommes montés, any of that business. So, if we're saying then, he washed himself, or I washed myself, then automatically, I'm telling you right now, I shall say this once and I want you to take this in. Any verb you use with a reflexive me, te, se, nous, vous, etc. Any verb you use with that reflexive where there is a compound tense, that means there's another word in the middle in your past or in any other tense, you are going to use the verb to be. I know it's not one of the être verbs, I know it's not to go, I know it's not to leave, but you are going to do this. So, let's think. If you said I have done something, you'd say j'ai, okay? If you said I myself, you'd say je me, okay? So we're going to keep the je me, but instead of saying the j'ai, I'm going to need the je suis, I'm going to need the être verb. So I'm going to say I myself, the verb to be, plus whatever my past word is. you yourself, the verb to be, plus whatever my password is, and so on. So this we're going to shorten to a technique which I call poetry past. Okay, now poetry past stops you going, I need me, I need myself, I need the verb to be, and then I need my password. Okay, so let's just have a look. So, if I said to myself, yeah? Quick check the two conditions I need. Is this in my action past? Yes, it is. I said to myself. Not I was saying, which would be terribly easy. I was saying je disais. I was saying to myself je me disais. That's no problem. So I said to myself, action would normally be 3, with the to myself pronoun will be 4. So I'm going to take I to myself and the verb to be. Now, said is not normally a verb which takes to be. I said, j'ai dit. He said, il a dit. We don't normally use the verb to be. And so this is what is likely to happen with most of these reflexive verbs. They are verbs that don't use the verb to be normally. This is why you're having to show that you're doing it to yourself, because normally you do it to someone else. So, for example, I said to myself, je me suis dit. And we work out j'ai dit. Okay, so for example, j'ai dit, that would be my normal one. So I work out dit, dit. I said to myself, je me suis dit. That's going on the end. Okay? So rather than working out tu, te, es, tu, t'es, obviously with the apostrophe, because it starts with a vowel, il sait, nous, nous sommes, vous, vous êtes, ils, se sont, then we just basically get these 6 down. And I hate lists, and I hate learning by lists, but this is one where we just get the patterns in our mouth, and then we always use the end word when appropriate. And this technique is going to be called poetry past. Okay, and poetry just means 3 words rammed together. Bleh. Yeah, it's just a better way rather than you every time thinking je, me, yada. Okay, so come with me. Je me suis. Tu t'es. Not tu te, that's the present reflexive, yeah? You wash yourself, tu te laves. Tu t'es. Il s'est. Again, not il se, that's the present. Nous, nous sommes. Vous, vous êtes. Ils se sont. Can I obviously stress that with il s'est, we'd have elle s'est or on s'est. Okay, so come with me. Je me suis. Tu t'es. Il s'est. Nous, nous sommes. Vous, vous êtes. Ils se sont. And what are we doing? We're using person, they're reflexive, you know, me, te, se, nous, vous, all the easy stuff, and the verb to be, all the easy stuff. Je suis, tu es, il est. Okay, so you're taking je suis, you're putting me in the middle of it. Come with me again. Je me suis, tu t'es, il s'est, nous, nous sommes, vous, vous êtes, ils se sont. I'm going to give you the person, you're going to give me the poetry. Je me suis, well done. Tu t'es, well done. Il s'est, not il se, good. Nous, nous sommes. Vous, vous êtes. Ils, plural, ils se sont. Now we've got that down, the fun starts. So, I washed myself. What's the verb to wash? Lavé. So the past will be lavé. L-A-V-E with my accent. Yeah, I washed the car, j'ai lavé la voiture. So I washed myself. Poetry for me? Je me suis lavé. Je me suis lavé word will go there. Okay? Je me suis lavé. If I wanted to write it on, je me suis lavé. Now, you washed yourself. What's the poetry for you? Is this in the past? You washed yourself, it's an action. Did something happen to yourself? Absolutely. So I'm going to need my poetry and past word combo. Poetry and past word. Or some people say PPP. Yeah, my method, but they've started calling it what they want. They say PPP. Luke, poetry and past participle. So, you washed yourself, you got washed. Tu t'es lavé. The verb to realise is render yourself count. Se rendre compte. Now, compte just floats down. We don't need to do anything with compte. But if we looked at the verb rendre, R-E-N-D-R-E, okay, rendre, here for a second. Okay, rendre compte. What's the past going to be of rendre? It's a classic DRE, so rendu. So he realised, pause, is it in the past? Yes. Is it an action past? Yes. Is it reflexive? Yes. Yep. Il s'est rendu compte. He realised, il s'est rendu compte. Okay? You got up. The verb to get up is se lever. Se lever. Okay? Can you watch my video on appeler and lever, on why we changed pronunciation to je me lève and tu te lèves? Okay? But the verb is lever. Okay? So the past word is lever. So go on then, give me I got up. It's a reflexive verb. I got myself up. Je me suis levé. Okay? I woke up. The verb is réveillé with an accent on the E. Bottom left, top right. Réveillé. So let's say you, plural, got up. So what's the poetry for you, plural? Vous vous êtes. Vous vous êtes réveillé. Okay? So let's say you got up yesterday at 8 o'clock. Vous vous êtes réveillé hier à 8 heures du matin. Okay? So, if we're going to be throwing in negatives or adverbs, then the same kind of thing is going to happen as happens normally. We have to focus that they are going to go before the main, after the main, the first verb. That's basically the way of dealing with adverbs, okay? So rather than with our pronouns, where we were looking, some of them go before the have auxiliary, some of them go before the infinitive verb, some of them go before one verb, your basic adverbs, so not, pas, jamais, never, plus, anymore, rien, nothing, all of these are going to go after your first verb, okay? And you might like to sort of feel they go before the past participle, but that's just complicating things. Okay, it depends what you find comfortable. Try and find the rhythm. So, for example, if I said, I got washed, je me suis lavé,